Hello, and welcome to Hack the Learning Disability. I am so glad that you are all here today. Hopefully we can learn something regarding our kids who learn differently. And I am super thrilled because today we are here with Moira. Moira, welcome to today's podcast. Would you be so kind to introduce yourself, and we'll go ahead and jump right in.
I am the mom of 5. I'm a Navy spouse, but the kids and I have been here since, again, 19 diggity diggity, many, many years. We're one of the lucky ones. So I come from Illinois originally, so you'll hear my Midwest twang. And other than that, excited to see where this goes. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. I know. I'm excited to see where it goes too. All right. So first question, what's the one thing that you do that's been the biggest contributor to your child's success?
The one thing I do personally, I think that he has a slightly older and weary mom. And so I think probably one of the things that I do better than I did for some of my older kids, I'm a little more benefit of the doubt toward people that work with him than I probably was initially. I would say in terms of being a mom, that I am much more interested in the relationship and less in what did the percent say, what did the last report say, than I was previously. So I'm kind of comparing myself to my old self, but that's, I think, what I do now. I think that we have undervalued as parents, perhaps, relationships with the people that support our kids. And I do think that I don't want to say you get more flies with honey than vinegar, but I do think that being willing to say, hey, I noticed this, and I usually try to come about it from like, I'm doing this, could you help me? Or I was doing this and now I'm doing this and it seems better, would you mind trying it? Like, I feel like I'm much more less didactic and more gentle than I used to be. And maybe teachers might totally disagree, but I feel like it's compared to like, I used to be we have to do it this way and we have to do it this way and there's only one right way. And now that I have, and I think I told you this earlier, I have a child that's already reached adulthood, gone through transition, and so now I see what's on the other side. And I think that's really what kids also need is we don't all need to come at them all in the same exact way. We need them to be able to go, oh, this is not exactly what I've seen before, so I'm still going to work with them and I'm still going to do my best and I'm going to learn how to deal with perhaps a different way of asking me to perform or a different expectation. And I don't know if that makes any sense.
Wow, I wouldn't have thought of that. So let me ask, with all of that being softer, more gentle, more didactic, has there been one silver bullet that's really produced dramatic results in a short amount of time? I think we're all looking for that, so I'm curious to hear your response.
For my son, because I was thinking about that kind of a question, probably his biggest explosive growth in any one domain was in speech language. He was pretty nonverbal, well beyond, like pretty much into kindergarten. And we were able to get him an augmentative communication device. And that really, I don't even know if they even use this kind of device anymore. It was definitely not the usual. They said he has more vocabulary, we need to put him on, and it was called Vanguard Unity. But it was a totally different than the Meyer-Johnson PECs that everybody else was using at the time. But he just was able to show a vocabulary of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of words really quickly. And even though he wasn't able to verbalize them, it really was that proof that there was more going on behind the scenes than he was able to articulate or express through, usual expressive language. So that was one thing that I'm glad looking back that we had the assessment, we listened to the assessment, we went with the assessment, and we went forward and we found people that were willing to incorporate it. We found a lot of people that were like, that's different, we don't want to use it. And it really didn't stop him. Like that we were able to cobble together people that could support the device. But that was one thing, is just that ability to communicate your thoughts, even if you're not speaking, is just kind of to me, the foundation of sort of not just the dignity of a person to be able to express themselves, but also as a mom to be able to go, hey, look what my kid can do. Look what my kid, like, there's stuff going on that we can't unlock. And I think that's very universal for moms and dads of kids that have learning disabilities and other sorts of developmental issues. Through the same meandering like maze, like everybody else finds anything. I don't even remember. I think we started with like speech, and then we were like OT and PT, and then when he still wasn't talking, I think somebody said, well, at the time it was, I think, UCP, so United Cerebral Palsy in San Diego they had an assessor, and through our insurance, I mean, it was, as convoluted as many things end up being, but that's how we ended up there. And a lot of it is, I mean, don't you think, kind of like a lot of it isn't like vision or, courage or anything. It's kind of desperation, like, for lack of anything else working, let's keep going. So anyway.
Wow, I know. That makes me feel better, because it is tough sometimes when one thing isn't working and you just go to the next one. So that makes me feel good. So let me ask, I know in your introduction you said you have 5 kids, and so that makes it a little bit, I don't even know how you do it, but can you, I think we're just going to focus on one of your kiddos. So would you mind telling us a little bit about your child and their top challenges?
Okay. He is our 4th. So we're talking about number 4. I have to keep saying number 4, number 4. So it is really hard for me to separate the backdrop of already having done this with other kids. So he benefits, like I said, he gets the older and hopefully wiser mom. So his challenges were a little different presentation. Of course, every child's unique, but his were more kind of, okay, we think we see an autism spectrum disorder coming down the pike. We knew that by 2. We knew that's where we were headed. But he was a totally different temperament. Like he was a joyful, like happy-go-lucky, like very pleasant, and not and kind of a little spacey, more than totally disengaged. And then shortly after his 2nd birthday, he turned blue on me one morning. And so we resulted in a little ambulance trip. I know it's very dramatic. So that started us on a path toward finding out he had a seizure disorder. And then as part of that, then they said, oh, and by the way, exactly where the seizures are happening, he has it's an arachnoid cyst, and it's something that's normally very benign, but it is exactly where. So we elected to have surgery to try to, it was causing mass effect in the left temporal lobe. I have that memorized. And so we did what's a very low-end brain surgery is what they called it. And then we started like the recovery from that. So now, fast forward, he's 14. He's no longer even really qualifying for very much like he's very verbal. So I mean, we caught up the verbal-ish. We still have pragmatics and social skills. Like we still have all the other things, but we have language. But I think as we've made progress in some areas, the things that we still need to work on become more big. So where he is now, I would say our biggest challenges are memory that goes with sort of a traumatic brain injury / autism. We're not really sure how to tease that out. And then obviously he does have like a specific learning disability, and it's in that area of working memory. So that I think our biggest challenge now is really the idea of foreign language, and the biggest is in order to get high school diploma. And then also being able to get through like the math requirements for a high school diploma in terms of integrated algebra, geometry, all of that.
Yeah, I know. I am really concerned about the math and the language class requirements for our son as well. So it's good to know that we're all in this together. So let me ask, how did you first find out that your child learned differently, and what did you do? And then what gave you the courage to move forward?
I think we probably had about a year where we were like, la, 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 he's doing great. And we were missing milestones by about a year. So in some ways it's a blessing because there's so many resources available for early intervention. And I want to acknowledge that for folks that kind of, get through that preschool, kindergarten, and then start to realize like, we're not learning the same way. That is a different kind of struggle and a different kind of assessment procedure. And I really feel like in some ways, I think we were blessed because we did know. We didn't have like, we didn't get to creative write or have fiction very long. We were in reality. In terms of the idea of courage, like I said, I think getting up and having that sense, I can look in the mirror and feel like I'm doing everything I need to do for this child and the other children. I don't feel like I really rarely meet a parent that feels like they're not in it to win it. So I don't know. I feel like I'm just kind of like a good C average parent. So anyway.
Wow. Well, I don't know. I've seen some other parents, and I think you're definitely A plus in my book. In fact, my tears are coming out of my eyes. So I better get on to the next question because I'm just really impressed with what you do for your kids. So it sounds like you kind of already answered this question, but the journey can be challenging. What do you do to keep persisting?
Well, I think don't you think I think that the most of the parents that I've interacted with that seem to be, in a good place, there's a lot of humility that goes with this. I mean, you kind of have to be like, okay, I'm not going to know it all. I don't care what my background was, but I personally didn't take child development. I didn't have to. And I got out of college with none of that. And I'm like, that's probably the one class that would have helped me. Instead of having to learn it all kind of in situ. But so I think I have a couple of benefits. I have one that military spouse thing, like some people go, oh, I don't know how you do it. It's like, I have a lot of really great role models that maybe their child wasn't developmentally delayed or didn't have a learning disability, but they were dealing with their own challenges. So I had a lot of mentors and role models in my life that persisted and really, I just remember having conversations about resilience even before I had little ones that needed me to do a good job with resilience. So that's one. I think I remember talking to people and saying, yeah, I'm going to pull up my big girl panties. And I know that was kind of like 2000, like maybe it was 2005 when we were all talking big girl panties, but that really still sticks in my brain. It's like, I'm gonna go to IKEA and I'm gonna see what they have that's gonna help my kid with autism today. Like maybe that's what I did. And I think the other thing is just I am from a long line of, I guess you'd call them battle axes, like strong women, strong like farmers, like kind of that self-sufficiency, but also just that we're not going anywhere, so we may as well figure this out. So I don't know. I hope every kid has, those people in their universe, even if it's not their parent. But I think resilience can come from so many different people in somebody's life, and you don't have to always be the one with the resilience. Like you're allowed to have your bad time, and you just hope that there's enough people on that team that can keep it going when you take a off ramp. So.
You're so cute. I love that. So it sounds like you're just the queen of persistence, but I love learning from other people's mistakes so that way we can all maybe learn from each other and not go through it. So have you tried anything that hasn't worked? And if so, when did you realize it wasn't working, and what did you do at that point?
I'm like zany, brainy toy store, Discovery Toys. I could go there. Like I tended to buy things. I feel like most of the therapeutic things, by the time we got the assessment that said we needed it, that there was enough And I think the other challenge is that it's so hard. We're not able to run this scientific trial, like where we control all the other factors and we're just changing this one thing. I mean, half the time we're throwing 15 things at the problem and hoping one of them takes, and then saying, oh, it was this one when it could have been any of those others. I think for sure the thing that I've done that doesn't work is that I am incredibly inconsistent, and like I'll do a really great job and then I'll fall off the bandwagon and I'll be like, oh, you are the worst parent, like you should have done this. So what I can say is that no, I mean that's the part that I think is like, but I think the part that didn't work was the stuff I told myself. And that's, again, this is, I have gray hair. So tons of stuff didn't work, but I think I don't know. I guess I look at it as like a lot of stuff didn't work out the way I planned for it to work out, but a lot of stuff had a way of working out anyway in ways I didn't expect. So I'm choosing to look at it in a happy way. Well, and it's not your life forever. I mean, the beauty is you go, okay, this doesn't appear to be working. I mean, I think, I might be reaching into other kids, but I mean, we did sound therapy things with headphones, and we did PECs, like PECs everywhere. And I'm like, well, what I have to show for this is Velcro on my walls everywhere in a very unsightly way. But I never feel like it was without, I feel like sometimes it's, okay, well, we learned that didn't work, check, and move on. And like I said, it's like, what does it take to look in the mirror and say, I gave that the good college try, it didn't hurt? Like, I think it's a difference when it's like, did I give him a medicine? Do we have brain surgery that we probably didn't need? Well, like, I'm never going to know. He has had more seizures, so maybe that was a big fail in, the land of elective surgery. I mean, but again, it's like I don't know. I feel like there's always so much coming at us that you just don't have the luxury of spending too much time kicking yourself for what you didn't back. And I hope I didn't make you think that it didn't work. I mean, it's like, how do I tease out, like when we were doing 3 or 4 or 5 interventions and nobody's just like, we're going to put you in a room, we're only going to do this one thing and we're going to see how it goes. It's like, it's not real. Well, and what you can, and I think the big thing is it something that's giving you kind of confidence to keep going and like something to look at that's maybe not the same old thing, like feeling like you're just spinning your wheels. I mean, I think that there's some utility in that. And I think as long as, your other relationships aren't being hurt, go for it.
Wow, I love that. I love the idea of going for it. So you have all these great ideas, this momentum, this great mindset. Where do you plan to go from here?
So we're in big transition land because I think we had talked about he's been at a non-public school. And we are heading back to general education. He's going to be entering freshman in high school. And it's one of those places like reality is still the only place to get that high school experience. We've had a lovely 3 years in like utopia, but that's, it doesn't closely resemble the future that awaits. And so we're going to tiptoe back in and see if we can make that ride. I think the things we're keeping, we're doing extra OT, we're doing a little extra speech this summer. We still get ABA is one of the services that he gets. And so he does do some outside activities, so we're going to keep trying those, but that's where we are right now. And it is both terrifying and totally exciting to, at the same time, be talking about that. So we'll see. Well, right now we are going to go, we had very serious conversations, and so we are doing a diploma-bound path for high school. He's going to a pretty unique, I think, high school in that it has a pathway that is very much his interest. He's very into construction and engineering and anything you can build, or if you can wear a hard hat doing it, that's his passion. So we found a high school that has that pathway, and then it's also got a 4x4, which means there's only 4 classes at a time, which to me sounds great just 4 classes worth of homework, 4 teachers for me to have to interact with, because that's certainly been my big concern. And then the peers that are in class, they tend to be fairly stable through the day. So it's going to be a lot more kids in the room, but I'm hoping we can make it work.
I know, and I have to say, I'm so glad that your son's going to high school before mine, so you can tell me everything. But I love your courageous attitude regarding it. So, our last question, and we're going to wrap up today's interview. And again, I'm so thankful, Moira, for you joining us and sharing all your insights. What is the one thing that anyone who's listening must do if they have a child that learns differently?
Just the one thing I'm just trying to kind of think about. Well, I'm going to say the one thing, in my opinion now, and again, this is me, 20 some years into this fun, is that the concept of general education curricular access, that no matter how old your child is, no matter what district you're in, that while your child is probably going to need these very structured, very focused teaching interventions, they also are always going to need to be still learning general knowledge. There's still going to be, you don't have the luxury of spending years completely ignoring general education. Nobody has that luxury. And so they have to learn how to learn, and then they also have to learn how to learn with peers in their space. And so I guess that's my passion right now, is just making sure that people that are in those early elementary grades, finding out my child has a disability, or even in preschool, that we continue to have those difficult conversations about, if my child is going to close the achievement gap, we can't spend all of our time with special education folks and not accessing general education teachers, because they tend to really have that subject matter. They tend to be the amazing reading specialist or the amazing math teacher, and we have to be able to get our kids in front of that talent. So that's my little spiel.
I love it. I love your little spiel, and again, all the info more that you've been so kind to share with us today. So thank you all for listening. I know I learned a lot, and I'm so thankful that together we can hack the learning disability together. If you know someone, or if you would like to share your insights with your kid or people that you work with that learn differently, please feel free to email me or reply to my YouTube channel, and we will definitely get you on, and together we can hack the learning disability. Thanks so much.